Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Pyrite. Group 2 is the Rainbow Moonstone. And group 3 is the Clear Quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Pyrite. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I am scared of being vulnerable with you. So this definitely could be someone that has run from the connection or pulled back energetically from you. And this feels to really correspond with deeper feelings for you that have welled up very suddenly, very intensely within them, in a way that both magnetizes them and at the same time is a very confrontational feeling, a lot within that is being reflected to them as far as the possibilities of what could develop between the two of you, or even what you had in the past, compared with the blocks and obstacles and the contradictions within themselves, maybe relating to their self-esteem or even their perception of love and partnership, that they are really in this process of struggling with, of coming to terms with. What do they need to release within themselves in order to step more fully into the understanding and acceptance of the version that they imagine of them as seen through your eyes? And so this feels to be somebody that's got a lot of raw emotion, that even if this is a loving connection where, you've said I love you, you had a relationship with one another, these feelings run a lot deeper than you imagine, than this person has let on up to this point in time. And there's a desire to come clean with you, be very clear about maybe their motivations for running in the past or for distancing themselves, kind of tucking away into their shell, energetically speaking. But there's also a fear of, if you see this fearful part of them, are you still going to look at them with the same kind of love in your eyes as you have had up to this point, when they were standing more in an energy of confidence, or even really kind of an ego-based projection of how they have wanted the world to see them? There's an energy of self-doubt as far as who they truly are at their core, in this moment in time, and then also a version of themselves that this connection, these feelings, is really encouraging them to step into. And they also say, the intensity of our connection frightens me. So confirmation right there of these deep feelings, a lot of activations, maybe even like heart chakra awakening that has happened within this person. And coupled with all of these deep and intense emotions that have come flooding forth are also a lot of old wounds, buried wounds from the past, doubts, and even kind of projections that had maybe been templated in them through childhood, through their upbringing, or even previous partners that they that had really sort of projected a lot of negativity and density upon, ways in which they were blaming themselves for how situations in their past had unraveled, even that they've kind of like held on to. This is the energy of being very anchored to that reality. It's been a rock upon which they have leaned, and kind of a weightedness within them. On the contrast of that, it's almost like these feelings that have stirred for you have provided them a window of opportunity to some form of liberation that they are beckoned toward, but at the same time they have become so accustomed to this weightedness within that the idea of fully letting that go in the interest of a leap of faith in another direction, it brings forth a lot of kind of visceral fear of the unknown. And they also say you're the only one that truly understands me. So despite any kind of masks or kind of like egoism that has been presented in the past, kind of this very stoic exterior, material aspects of this person, a lot of confidence, a lot of success, and others who may have not really questioned beyond that sort of surface, beyond that mask or that projection of how they've wanted the world to see them. There's a sense of you being able to really look deeply within to their soul. And it comes from this awareness that they're able to see you on a soul level. They're able to connect with you beyond words, beyond sensation, beyond their ability to define these feelings or to understand these feelings. And while they are really beckoned deeper into this space, kind of like a homecoming sort of energy, or a sense of being safe to sort of take off their armor and let a different side of themselves out into the light of day, there's an uncertainty with this as well. Kind of like, if I let myself be seen and recognized, even in kind of the sanctuary that we have created with one another, what if this mask accidentally slips when I return to reality, when I return to my ordinary life, and I've got this image to project? It's a sense of almost being fearful of becoming too comfortable in the sense of authenticity that they've experienced with you, or that they've really been called or urged to present, and opening to you on an emotional level that may be uncharacteristic for them, or even conversations or experiences that you've shared that have really touched them on a deep soul level, in a way that provides them a lot of soul nourishment, but also a lot of this fear, a needing to kind of protect this aspect or element or image of themselves that the ordinary world kind of understands them by. They also say, if I knew then what I know now, I would have made different choices. So if this is a no contact situation, this person is in a bit of regret as far as allowing fear to really rule the roost, to allow them to pull away from this situation, maybe very abruptly or unfairly. And there's a sense of questioning, kind of, how do I get back in the door? How do I course correct in this situation? They still may be fighting a lot of that energy of the ego and the pride within themselves that is encouraging them to just continue to press forward, almost using this experience as an excuse of just one more weight that they need to carry within their heart. But unlike other circumstances of regret, it feels like that they've had at various points in their life, their attention keeps being brought back to kind of the energy of a wrong turn that they have made in this situation, in their life in general, an opportunity for some kind of self-liberation that this connection, even just energetically between the two of you, that this has provided, not even just in terms of the nature of partnership possible with another person, but it really brings to mind the energies of a redefinition of their relationship with themselves, and a sense of regret at having not taken that opportunity to kind of build and develop and grow further in the direction of releasing some stagnancy, releasing some outdated patterns, stepping into this newness and into this potential with curiosity, with a beginner's mind, a sense of feeling a window of opportunity has closed. And although they're feeling that they can't necessarily fully retrace the steps that they took to move away from you, or even sort of tuck back energetically, there does feel to be kind of like a scanning of the horizon for any other cues or clues or indicators of how they might find a way around these obstacles within themselves, and then further kind of how they can make their way back around to sort of rebuilding that level of intimacy and trust between the two of you. They also say, is it possible to forgive and forget? So there's another confirmation of that energy of really regretting their decisions in the past, a decision to pull away, a decision not to invest in this situation. This may have been someone that cut off communication with you in the connection very harshly, or left you with a lot of unanswered questions. And in the aftermath of all of that, it's kind of like as they ran for the hills and reached this point of distance from you, energetically or otherwise, and kind of like had this sense of safety where they could catch their breath and sort of look around. Now that the dust has settled and sort of the intensity of whatever was triggered within them, this fear mechanism has kind of subsided, they're looking around and feeling very foolish, wondering if it's even possible to kind of recapture the innocence that the two of you shared, recapture the intensity of the bond. It's a sense of almost an energy of exacerbation with themselves, that now they've just created more work for themselves as far as moving back in your direction, that it's not so simple to just pick up where you left off, but it's going to be almost this gradual heavy lifting, a bit of an uphill climb to be able to move past that point of break between the two of you, and to be able to kind of like resurface, redefine, and reimagine the nature of your connection, should you choose to accept their apology and let them back into your world. They also say, I still love you. So definitely not an out of sight, out of mind situation. This person still holds a lot of deep and confusing feelings for you. This may even be this element that they still love you could be very frustrating for them. This feels to be somebody who has maybe even systematically run from their feelings, run from deep and intense emotions, and in many other circumstances and things in their life, they've been able to outrun, they've been able to put enough distance, or to essentially kind of like starve out those cords of connection or those cords of intensity with other people or circumstances, to kind of just bury that deeply within themselves. However, in this situation with you, that's not proving so easy. And so it's a bit of frustration, almost like, why did I try to run so far? Right? Why did I self-sabotage in this situation? And also, why won't these feelings go away? Why do I still feel such love? Why does this sense of love, the knowing of love, something that even just borders on love, if these were never words that were directly spoken, why does this continue to grow despite the efforts that I've made to put barriers on this, to banish this from my existence, or to completely remove myself from direct involvement in this in a particular way. And the fact that this is so persistent despite these best efforts to the contrary, it's helping this person to really start to reevaluate this connection and the nature of their feelings from a different vantage point. They also say, I do pray about us. So this could be somebody who is asking for signs, for clues, for help from the divine on how to proceed in this situation, asking for signs and confirmations about the nature of what they're feeling, what you mean to them, what your purpose is in one another's lives. This can also talk about praying for a new opportunity, almost like asking the divine, if it's meant to be, please bring this situation into alignment. Please make this person receptive to my return. Please orchestrate events so that we run into one another, so that I find the courage within myself to sort of transcend these boundaries of doubt and fear, to come forth in a humble energy with the willingness to rebuild, and to smooth out whatever difficulties or kind of discrepancy between promises and the corresponding actions that may have left sort of this chaos in the wake of whatever's happened between you in the past. Somebody who's praying for a miracle in this situation, or is feeling that it will take a miracle in order for you to be able to let them back into your world, into your heart, into your reality. even if it's something where you're still dealing with this person and they just pulled back their energy, maybe you're still sort of in contact, but it's a bit awkward or a bit distant. They're almost putting a lot of pressure on themselves that now it's created this difficulty. Now it's going to take some sort of like miraculous infusion of energy on the part of the divine in order to be able to soften you to them once again, to be able to trust them and to be able to kind of acclimate to them again. That there's a lot of kind of like blame and pressure, like they back themselves into a corner here. They may be building the situation up to be a bigger deal than it is based on kind of ways in which they've pulled back energetically, or they're kind of building the idea of just opening up those lines of communication, just continuing and pressing forward and sort of leaning more deeply into the reestablishment of intimacy on different levels between the two of you. They're almost making that into be a bigger deal than it actually is, or that it needs to be for them at this point in time. They also say, I've been sending you messages in the 5D. So this could be somebody who's testing out the waters prior to making some move towards you in the material world, popping up in your dreams, popping up in your thoughts, little signs and synchronicities that are that direct reflection of a lot of attention and energy being focused to sort of puzzling their way through your circumstances at this point in time, their role in these conditions, and sort of this curiosity, feeling their way along in the dark to try to see, can we create a window of opportunity? Is there still an opening for us to reconnect? Is this closed off? Have I missed my chance? Have I missed my opportunity? And it may be even, I'm hearing, I'm sorry. So that might be popping into your mind a lot. Even things that are coming through in like songs, or, just different kind of ways that spirit communicates with you very individually, that are energies of, and kind of these signs and reflections of tenderness, regret, apology, like a softer energy than sort of more of a stony stance than this person had been in previously, or from the outside, from the 3D perspective, is kind of, they've got their walls up, but energetically speaking, they're sending a very different message vibrationally, and it feels like very deliberately your way. This isn't just a byproduct of like this passive quality. It's almost like behind the mask, behind the stonewalling exterior, there's this effort to kind of reach out to you, and to really almost judge their next move in the material sense by what they perceive or how they interpret, maybe even asking the divine to help them interpret what they're sensing, the nature of that corresponding or responsive vibration that they're picking up from you. They also say, I act happy, but I'm not. So that's a confirmation right there of that energy of kind of somebody wearing a mask, stonewalling you, or trying to just present that whatever their stance, if they're kind of cold, if they're closed off, if they're removed, if they're distant, if they are not making efforts at this point in time in the material world to contact you or to, further the connection in any way at this point in time, that this is all just a ruse for kind of some deeper fears that they're trying to keep hidden, a sense of uncertainty, something that they're wrestling with within themselves, something that they almost feel needs to be let go of in terms of like that anchor of fear before they're prepared to move towards you, with the intent of not repeating these same cycles of kind of like a push-pull dynamic. But this feels like somebody who wants to kind of leap beyond all of that and start to move into more of an energy of consistency. So they may continue to kind of remain a bit distant, withdrawn, or just sort of absent from this connection in a variety of ways, almost until they've had time to sort of gauge this out, or kind of reach a level of self-mastery within, coupled with the idea of like prayers that are going out, these signs and these kind of like this quest for assistance from the divine, courage, they're trying to summon up from deep within, and then also trying to sort of interpret and gauge their next actions based on how you are energetically responding to these sort of like signs that they're giving you from afar, energetically speaking. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, so we've got S, N, R, O, U, U A H I L F Z C V E A J L and H. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more decks and more cards. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance, so if you're looking for a little more variety from me in terms of types of readings, that is the place to find them. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Rainbow Moonstone. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I need more time to reflect on myself. So this person's in deep contemplation right now. It feels like they may be on the fence about making some kind of a move towards you, some decision about this connection, maybe to confess deeper feelings for you, reach out, offer some kind of olive branch, some sort of reconciliation, or just take this connection to the next level in some way. And it feels to be an energy of contemplating going deeper with you, as opposed to pulling back further, running away, or creating more distance in this situation. It's the idea of somebody who's feeling the pull to advance this situation, but really asking these deep questions to themselves. Am I ready for everything that comes along with opening my heart more fully to this connection, or opening my heart perhaps for the first time fully and cognizantly to this situation? This could have been someone who was really in denial about their feelings, had a lot of armor up, a lot of walls around their heart. There may have been third-party party energies involved in this situation, something that they're needing to kind of wrap up, or some loose ends that they're not needing to tie up. This can also talk about third party energies by way of wounds of the past, kind of ghosts of the past that have had their energetic hooks within this person, making them kind of have this distorted view of love and partnership. So leading into the situation with you with some skepticism and wounding in tow. And it almost feels like somebody who is at the process of taking down some of that armor, learning to really decipher and differentiate between people who have hurt their heart in the past and what they are experiencing with you, which is this very pure and honest and high vibrational energy. So kind of this decision about leaving certain elements of themselves and their world, or a particular stance, a particular decision that they had made, or a stance they had taken about you in the situation in the past, in the interest of, am I ready to open up further, to commit to this, to explore this further, to try to resurrect or revive this situation if that's applicable or necessary. They also say, you are my missing piece. Yes, this person feels a deep soul bond with you, almost like you are the perfect reflection of one another, but from a very high potential. They may have dealt with people previously who reflected a lot of their darkness, their wounding, very triggering and toxic connections, and this could have left a lasting impression upon them, where they almost sort of move into new situations with a guardedness, entertaining connections, but then always having sort of one foot out the door, waiting for that other shoe to drop, or the rug to be pulled out from under them. And it feels like in this situation, those same sort of conditions or principles were not relevant. This person may have really tried to test you, or test the energy or the integrity of the situation, maybe by stirring things up, trying to show you, or to make known to you some of the shadowy elements of who they are, some of the lower aspects of their nature early on in the situation, with sort of as a strategy in the hopes of kind of like, if I show or demonstrate or bring forth kind of the worst qualities within me, it'll vet out people that, are not necessarily going to be accepting of the fullness of all that I am. And so kind of leaning into this energy of that you've passed some sort of test, or a series of tests for them. And it's again this idea of reflecting and getting ready to sort of open up further, or to start to show you more of these beautiful qualities within. They may have become very self-protective over, or that is kind of like somebody who's had their heart broken a lot, and they've had to rebuild themselves maybe several times. And each time they bring with them some of that bitterness from what has happened before. They maybe just in a process now of really coming to this epiphany and awareness that in order to be able to move forward fully and openly and in their entirety, and to experience the potential and possibility that exists with you in this situation, that they're going to have to leave behind a lot of that jadedness, a lot of these kind of like strategies or coping mechanisms that have gone along with a series of toxic connections, that even if they were kind of the toxic factor for a period of time in this situation, they're starting to really see that that may have been very one-sided, that your response to them was different from other people who may systematically have reacted to them. So the rules with you in this situation don't apply for what they are accustomed to dealing with in terms of people that they magnetize into their world and in their reality, romantic partners that they've had. And so in a lot of ways, you provide them almost, even if you challenge this person when they have shown and displayed these toxic tendencies, this is not the energy of somebody who thinks, great, you're my missing piece because you're a doormat. It's almost like you've held your boundaries, but in a way that is healthy and respectful and compassionate. You have loved yourself enough perhaps to withdraw from this person, or to really assert what it is you need and what you're looking for in a connection in a way that sort of raises the bar, it raises that standard. It draws a line in the sand that is inviting this person to meet you at your level, which may have been very different from the type of people they're used to dealing with, that could have, that like extreme power struggles, or people that might have tried to sort of like make them feel bad for who they are, that even as they've shown you in this situation kind of that darker element of themselves, they're still feeling that there's you're seeing beyond all of that. You're taking that into account, loving yourself in whatever ways you've needed to in accordance with that. And yet there's this consistency of kind of like honing in on the soul of who this person is beyond this almost defense mechanism on their part to see, if this is a connection where they're safe to kind of open up to that softer side of themselves. They also say, my love for you will never change. So if you are in no contact with this person, or things have gotten a little awkward, gotten a little weird, gotten a little quiet, maybe they showed you kind of a shadowy part of themselves, and you needed to, again, sort of pull your energy back, raise that standard, raise the bar, demonstrate through actions even, that this is not something that's tolerable. This is not something you're willing to accept or entertain in your world and your reality, which may have really given this person pause to reflect, contrary to like other people they were dealing with, where it might have ended in sort of these very volatile fights or disagreements. It's almost just like you've responded to this person by sort of pulling back your energy in kind, respecting your own personal boundaries, loving yourself enough, to kind of like set that example of, I need something more, I need higher vibration from you, I'm not going to stoop to this level. And so in the aftermath of all of that, something they've really needed to soul search about within, the feeling that they have for you, it's constant. A lot of regret with this as well, that they kind of have put you through a gauntlet of a series of tests within themselves, a bit of kind of childishness or immaturity, or a sense that it's almost kind of stemming from a very wounded part within themselves, that this has been a wake-up call. It has checked them in some way, that this is not the foundation upon which a loving connection is built, and it has brought home this reality to them that there's still a lot that they are needing to kind of fix and heal within in order to be able to kind of trust themselves and trust this situation enough to lead with love rather than these fear-based kind of defense mechanisms. They also say, would you reject me? So again, this idea of somebody who is considering opening up deeper to this, maybe offering some kind of an apology, course correcting how they've been showing up, if they've been in kind of a bristly energy with you, kind of rejecting little cups of love that you had to offer, sort of like showing you a very stonewall kind of energy, sort of mixed signals, a wishy-washy hot and cold. There is this sense of wanting to lean into being more consistent with the lighter and receptive and kind of higher vibrations within themselves that they do hold within, but that they're very like self-protective over. It's almost like in some way they feel you've earned the right to be able to enjoy these beautiful parts of them. And part of this is in keeping with the fact that you have been so generous with these beautiful parts that correspond within yourself. You mirror to them the way that love should be, as a contradiction to what they've known of love up to this point in time. And so this feels like somebody who's at least got a base awareness that their perceptions were based on a lot of distortion. As kind of the fog has cleared, as they have come to more of this personal illumination and may still be in the process of kind of like digging beneath the surface and sort of picking apart their motivations, why they have responded to your loving energies, the feelings that have stirred within them, with such a, almost like a brisk or a very hardened exterior, as they're in the process of kind of like sifting through all of that and moving beyond all of that. There is this sense of vulnerability here, like, is it too little too late? This side of themselves that they may not have shown very often, is this something you'd want? Is this something you'd be open to receive? Or has this wounded part of them inflicted so much damage already in the situation that now your walls are up, your guard is up, you're not just gonna openly kind of accept this person back in. It's going to be a little more difficult in order to kind of have a meeting of the minds between one another, to have this kind of like heart to heart connection with one another. So there's a lot that they're considering, both in terms of what needs to be shed within themselves and what is required to be presented to you in order to evolve this situation beyond wherever it stands currently. They also say the grass wasn't greener on the other side. So this is tying into, again, somebody who has led with kind of some of their distortion, some of their worst qualities. It's almost like this idea of someone who sort of said to themselves, maybe even very consciously, okay, this time around, I'm sick and tired of this pattern of very destructive and toxic connections, things that seem very bright and hopeful on the surface and then quickly deteriorate. The bottom drops out of that. So in this situation, I'm going to try a different method. I'm going to try this like other perspective here. I'm going to show the worst of what exists within me, or kind of these difficult qualities that might have been points of friction or contention in other circumstances. And if this individual sticks around despite all of that, then I know it's safe to open my heart to them. It feels like a plan that is backfired in their face. They're now experiencing the brunt of this. Your response was not what they were expecting. And it feels to be something that now they're sort of caught in this tangle of like, well, how do I course correct from this point in time? These aspects of myself that I don't like, that are part of the shadow. I don't want these things triggered and brought up, and yet I've been the one to kind of introduce these into the equation. I didn't give this situation a chance to kind of deteriorate. I brought this toxicity with me kind of right out of the gate, and it's something that there's a regret about all of that. That approach, that kind of like contrary, leading with sort of a lot of their distortion displayed outwardly, it has not yielded the desired effect for them. And so there's this sense of almost wishing they could turn back time and lead with what is most comfortable, what is most authentic, what has been their usual and ordinary pattern in relationships. That it's almost like you never were the type of person that would have inflicted or brought forth that same kind of toxicity that previous partners had. So it's almost like you were being punished or made to be held accountable for, other people that they had dealt with previously that had a lot of unhealed wounds within. This person is really starting to see that you're different from the rest, and that it was unfair to kind of lump you into this category with other people that have done them wrong. They also say, I can still feel you. So this is a full no contact, or things have just kind of closed down a bit energetically between you. They still feel your energy as a companion for them. It is this consistency despite what has happened, despite even the self-loving ways in which you've had to withdraw your attention. You've had to redirect focus elsewhere. There's a part of you that still remains with this person, that is still saying, I have taken this action, not, as a reflection of you, but as a reflection of how much I respect me. And so this is something that is very different. It has made this impression. It's almost like this reverberation of some sort of series of actions on their part, and the reactions, the consequences of that being very different from what they had anticipated. You have left quite an impression upon this person. There's an inspiration here, and a knowing as well that as much as they have been hurt, they have a lot of unhealed wounds and pain, and they may have chosen to kind of lead with toxicity. There's an awareness or something that is really coming through in terms of like epiphany and aha moment, that you have been hurt just as much, equally, perhaps even more by loving connections, and yet you still choose to lead with a place of compassion, from a place of trust within. It is a living example to this person. That as many times as somebody is kind of like knocked down or disappointed by love, to continue to get back up, to continue to, allow even the most detrimental or disappointing experiences to make one more loving, more compassionate, as opposed to kind of like closed off and embittered to circumstances. They also say, I want to reconcile with you. So a confirmation right there of somebody who wants to come in from out in the cold. They may be in the process of kind of like strategizing how to make that move forward. If you're still in connection with one another, you may start to experience that they warm up a little more towards you. This kind of like energetic barrier, or them just sort of like tucking away into their shell. It's almost like they peek their head out again. They start to kind of come towards you. The nature of your interactions, there's a lot more softness on their part. And it feels to be something that it may take time for this person to kind of fully build up that confidence, to really discuss some of this woundedness within them, to kind of in a roundabout way, or for some of you even very directly, talk about all of this kind of strategy or ploy that they were using, and how that sort of backfired on them in a way. But it's this idea of almost wanting to show you a different side. Again, you've passed some sort of test, some sort of testing or initiatory phase ways within them, to where there's been this unconscious signal of like, it's safe in this situation to let this guard down. And so this feels like someone who most likely is going to demonstrate that energy of reconciliation with a bit of changed action, a changed sort of energy or responsiveness that they are directing to you. They also say, you will hear from me soon. So again, someone might be planning on reaching out soon if you're still interacting with them very soon, or kind of, sort of from this point on, essentially, or in the very near future, you're going to start to notice some kind of like a lightness, some kind of a softness. There's less of this like heaviness or grittiness in this person's energy. Even if the nature of your conversations remain very much the same on the surface level, this feels to be energetically, you may have sensed a lot of tension or friction within them in the past. That was kind of that shadow side, that worst part of themselves, that cantankerous or cranky aspect of themselves really being sort of needled into this situation in the past to see, are you going to hang around if this is, you're seeing this face of me, which also exists within, in addition to these loving and soft energies, I have this component to who I am. This has been a problem in other connections. They have now seen that that is not the proper approach to take in this situation. So it's the idea of leaning in with more of a harmonious energy, more of a soft energy, more gentleness, more like a honey type energy, as opposed to some of that kind of saltiness that they might have brought with them before. They also say, you really are the best thing that has ever happened to me. So this ties into the idea of, even if you have been the one to kind of like pull back your energy a bit, in a very kind of self-loving, self-protective, honoring yourself sort of manner, you have taught this person by example. You have helped them to heal and to grow and to really see through a tangible and tactile experience, that allowing these wounded aspects of them, these kind of like triggered aspects or very pessimistic aspects of them, to lead in a very dominant manner in how they're moving into future situations, to allow the tethers to the ghosts of their past to involve themselves in sort of the current reality or new situations that they are trying to cultivate or are invited to like participate in, that this serves no one, and ultimately it does not serve them. So in a very almost like quiet, subtle, and yet substantial way, it feels like you have provided this person with a lot of opportunity for growth and healing. You've provided them with some kind of epiphany, some sort of perspective or aha moment, to where it may have been like a difficult or a harsh lesson, kind of having to learn the hard way that this approach, opening up to the potential of love and feelings in this way, did not serve anybody's highest good, and yet it feels to be something that they're ultimately hopeful about or optimistic, that something good can come out of all of this, that this has been a light that has been shed on some wounded aspect within them that has no place in kind of a positive future that they would like to create for themselves and in this situation. So this is somebody who's in the process of kind of like healing, getting ready to shed some sort of baggage from themselves, even if that's just kind of pressure they're putting on themselves, and who has a distinct interest in kind of leaning back in, returning back into this connection, participating with this connection, with an openness and a willingness to participate where they may have put up a lot of resistance before. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got R, H, A, V, Z, R, P, P, F, B, W, E, A, M, C, X, D, T, I, and S. So, those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for a little more variety from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the clear quartz. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay. I say we need to take it slow. So this person may be a bit skittish about their feelings for you. A lot of intensity, a lot of telepathy, a lot of activations that are happening, a lot of connection in the dream space that this person feels to be very consciously aware of, feeling your energy around them, a lot of signs and synchronicities, a lot that is bursting forth from within them. They may have made a decision recently to stop fighting these feelings, to stop suppressing or denying these feelings, and have perhaps admitted to themselves for the first time, openly and consciously within, that they have feelings for you, or that they still have feelings for you, and that this has been kind of like a monumental tower moment in and of itself, a self-induced tower moment, admitting to this, turning their face to that reality of what exists within them, of the fact that there is this connection, this very palpable connection between the two of you, that perhaps in many ways goes beyond ordinary love. It's beyond what they've known and experienced of partnership up to this point in time. This may even be a situation of kind of the context in which the two of you have met one another. Maybe this is like coworkers or friends or something where, you know, just based on kind of the circumstances or the time in their life or in your life, they weren't looking for love. They weren't looking for romance. This may have been somebody who's come out of some kind of like major ordeal, a big breakup. They're just starting to like pick the pieces back up for themselves, or had just sort of entered into a space of sovereignty and kind of being okay on their own, being okay with kind of where they are at in their life or what has happened in love up to this point in time. focusing on other things, focusing on themselves, or actively in the process of doing that. And then all of a sudden, here you come, stirring things up within them, within this emotional body. And this is someone who's almost kind of like putting on the brakes, or has put on the brakes, tried to stuff and suppress and kind of push away these feelings, almost like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to let love in. I'm not ready to love again. Or even sort of like the nature of how these loving feelings have surfaced, the conditions of that on the outside are different from where I was expecting to find partnership, who that would be, what that would look like. But it does feel, again, some kind of like self-induced tower or breakthrough energy within themselves. They have just now crossed this threshold of admitting this to themselves, confessing this to themselves, but a slow and deliberate energy that they're feeling, that they need at this point in time, in terms of like opening up to this with you more directly, a need to sort of take the exploration of these feelings, or just very consciously kind of participating with this dynamic, trying out these different sort of elements of energetic communication between the two of you, exploring these very quietly, needing to sort of formulate their own opinions and ideas of what this all means, what the nature of this is, how to best work with and kind of thrive in the midst of all of this. That needs to happen individually, but it's also something where they're wanting to participate more with you, but just at kind of like a Knight of Pentacles pace. There's action that's being taken forward, but it's gradual, it's slow. It's somebody who may be very kind of thoughtful or methodical about this. They're not wanting to let these emotions run away from them. If they've been skittish with you up to this point in time, they're understanding this quality about themselves, a tendency within themselves, or just a reaction that they've had to the nature of these circumstances. And so in order to make progress beyond that, it's going to have to be baby steps at this point. They also say, I'm not ready to reach out to you. So again, this idea of someone who's needing to take things very slowly. They feel to be in observation mode at this point in time, sitting very quietly with this energy, opening themselves up to, guidance from their higher self, guidance from their spirit team or ancestors. This may be somebody who has a meditation practice, or they've started this. They've started to really pray about this and started to really do the research about the signs that they're getting, trying to come to their own conclusions so that they have something solid and stable to bring to you, so that they can reach a place of kind of reconciling with themselves over what is happening here, what has happened between the two of you, and what that means for the possibilities moving forward with you. So this is someone who's in this period of introspection, but they feel to have cleared away a major obstacle within themselves as far as a denial of feelings, feelings if you're in no contact with one another that they've continued to hold on to despite time and space that has separated you. This is someone who is kind of uncorking that bottle again for the first time and sort of surveying the contents of what they find within, but needing to understanding they almost need to take a different approach to the situation this time around than has been the case before. A lot of overwhelm with the nature and intensity of these feelings, or a tendency within this person in general to be kind of like an emotionally avoidant person, a runner type energy in a lot of different ways in their life, someone who's very conflict avoidant. And so kind of in keeping with their own nature, they're needing to really kind of get some grounding, wrap their head around as much as possible this very kind of like mystical feeling, these intense and very unexpected feelings for you before they're ready to kind of openly discuss this or openly admit this with you and start to kind of discuss, do you feel the same way? Can we repair this situation? Can we move the situation forward in some way? Kind of like, what future do you see? What future do I see? And how do we meet in the middle with this? They also say your eyes are enchanting. So there's a lot of soul recognition here. Eye contact with this person may be very intense. May have been a lot of deja vu that has occurred, or a sense of just something that instantly clicked within them or stirred within them the moment they either first looked you in the eyes, or this could have been somebody that just saw you even from afar. It's giving to giving me the idea of somebody who may have like seen you online. This could have started for a lot of you in that capacity. They saw a picture of you. If you had like a social media presence, they saw you. If your face is on camera, or you're doing things in that capacity, or you're posting selfies or whatever. And there's something where even in that kind of like semi-removed capacity, sort of the lack of direct face-to-face contact, something within them really was kind of shaken. There was an electricity, something like popped to life within them, and it compelled them, it fascinated them, it continues to fascinate them. They see themselves in your eyes, they see this reflection of them, time seeming to almost evaporate or disappear when they are looking into your eyes, or when they have kind of like looked at you. It's a sense of, I know you from somewhere. And this may have really caused them to go kind of down a rabbit hole, or even starting to just sort of toss around that question within their own mind, may have really been a key that unlocked a lot within them, awakening different sorts of psychic gifts, and kind of a different questioning about who they are, the nature of soul and reality. So it feels to be very kind of like high intensity frequencies here, deep sense of soul recognition between you and this person, a lot of which may have only been kind of like glazed over on the surface, or touched on a very surface level, but there's a deeper core recognition that this person is kind of opened up to now within themselves, and they're in the process of kind of evaluating to come to their own conclusions, to come to their own definitions of what this is, what this means, what they are able to sort of do with this knowing, and how to kind of move forward to make sense about the possible progression of this situation. And they also say, I need more time to figure things out. So another confirmation there of somebody who has really come to a deep understanding within them. They've admitted something to themselves, but they're not yet ready to kind of talk about this very openly. They're still needing to sort of sit back, observe, wait for signs and synchronicities, and kind of these answers to these prayers, confirmations that they have been seeking. This may also, though, with that kind of Knight of Pentacles energy that was coming through, this could be somebody who's almost, they've asked for a lot of signs. They've received a lot of direct signs. And each time they keep saying, okay, there's that confirmation, but I need another confirmation. I need another sign. And it's like they just keep circling around that same point of recognition, to where it's almost, the universe getting very sort of tired with them, that it's a relentless kind of obsessing almost over this energy of needing some sort of certainty in what feels to be kind of an act of faith, a matter of faith at this point, that they've either reached this place where it can't get any clearer, or they're nearing that place where it's like the signs aren't going to get any clearer. It kind of like reaches its limit or its extent as far as like a conscious or logical understanding, and that in order to really grasp and experience firsthand, directly, personally, in a tangible way, what the meaning of this is in plurality, in like a bigger sense, it's going to require action forward. It's going to require participating with you in the situation deeper than they have up to this point in time. That whatever this is, the nature of this connection, what's been awoken within them, these feelings that are stirring within, it can't be neatly packaged in a box of this is this and that is that. It's like this and that are true in this circumstance. Something that kind of transcends their experience, or it's almost kind of like a breakthrough energy, even for someone who may not have been looking for love at this point in their life. Whatever has happened, it's sort of like shaken their world, it's shaken them to the core, and they're trying to kind of hang on to whatever sort of like crumbs or aspects of their reality, their worldview, kind of a perception of control that they want to have over this situation, and kind of this big wave of potential that is beckoning them to explore more deeply with you, as opposed to just continuing to sort of sit in this hermitage energy very quietly within and try and just look and observe and pick it all apart. But that in and of itself feels to be a very necessary kind of like part of their journey. It is in this place of the internal landscape and picking it all apart that they've managed to kind of like cut through the surface in a certain level, and they've reached this breakthrough, they've reached this aha moment, this certainty within themselves, and so now it's just kind of a matter of sort of looking around and surveying this landscape before kind of making more of a move outwardly to kind of express this with you. They also say, I can still feel you. So this ties into that deep energetic bond. Even if this person's gone kind of quiet, they've withdrawn into themselves, you are right there. It's almost like they can feel your eyes watching them, energetically speaking, or they feel very entwined with your soul in a way that in the past and still at times may feel a little bit invasive. So it's almost like this person's trying to cloak their energy at particular points in time so they can just have some space to think. They may almost sense a lot of energetic pressure just by the constancy of who you are, and this recognition at the soul level, at the core level within, that this connection is different from the rest. This in some way is kind of the answer that they have been seeking all along, or at this point in their life, or that there's just something of value and substance to be experienced by participating more directly and in a cooperative way with you in this situation, rather than remaining kind of like in their separate corner and just trying to sort of figure this out very internally and individually. And so it feels like something that's, it may or may not have to do with kind of like focus and attention that you're putting on this situation. As much as they feel you, you most likely can feel them. And so it's kind of the two of you almost playing off one another's energies, sort of pinging back and forth, like a signal or a frequency of this kind of attention and awareness of almost like a bit of telepathy going on. It's the impression of somebody going like, can you hear me? Are you getting this message? And then the other person's like, yeah, I can hear you. Are you getting this message? Only you haven't talked about these things out loud. So very loud soul communication between the two of you. This can definitely talk about like a high level soulmate energy where you have encountered each other in this lifetime. And so there is this union between this higher self polarity and now this awareness and whatever level of interaction you have or had with one another on the surface, on the 3D reality, to where the vastness between those two kind of worlds, or those two aspects, that divide has been reduced substantially. And so it's like in real time, you're interacting from the higher self level and energetically speaking, and in kind of those psychic ways, and you have the ability, for a lot of you, you may still be in contact with this person to some degree, kind of like intermittent communication. Then there's also that 3D interaction with one another and that chatter at the soul level. All of it feels to be something that's a process of them trying to wrap their mind around, trying to kind of put a logical explanation to this, trying to package it up very neatly within themselves and kind of their level of comfort and understanding of it before they're willing to participate openly in this situation further. They also say, I've never forgotten you, even though you think I have. So this can tie into somebody you're in no contact with, and that all of this kind of breakthrough energy, still feeling you, this kind of like soul tie, this communication between the two of you, energetically speaking, this still exists despite radio silence in the material sense. This also, though, feels to tie into somebody who may have sort of withdrawn into themselves, tucked away a little bit, just to sort of introspect, to kind of observe all of this before they're ready to sort of come back out and interact more directly with you. The nature of your conversations may have just sort of ebbed down into things on a surface level. They're not wanting to touch on that deep kind of soul stirring nature of relating to one another that you may have had in the past. But it's the energy of, even though they have sort of pulled back in a way or tried to redirect their focus maybe to things in their mundane reality as a way to just kind of put the brakes on or get some sort of breathing room, some space for themselves to figure all of this out, to kind of like interpret and receive and kind of deduce all these signs and find these answers for themselves. Despite all of that, they're still very fixed on your energy. They're still very entwined with you. There's still an interest in recommencing this situation. They have not forgotten the intense intimacy the two of you have created almost instantaneously. It's like instantaneous soul recognition, like two people meeting for the first time, and yet it feels like you haven't missed a beat from all these other lifetimes that you've been incarnated with one another, or almost a sense of like comfortability or familiarity that was very quickly established in your dealings with one another, that may have been very comforting and also very triggering to one or both of you. And so it's something that, as much as they may have taken some space, they're still in the process of applying a lot of their efforts and their attention to sort of like figuring this out. What does this all mean, and where do we go from here? They also say, I'm going to take action. I'm just planning the approach. So confirmation of kind of that Knight of Pentacles energy, somebody who may be in a bit of that shadowy kind of like over planning to where they're at a standstill at this point in time. But as much as it's kind of like cooled down or may just be sort of limited to like the energetic communication between the two of you, even that kind of psychic level may have sort of waned down a little bit. That all of this is sort of, it's a pause. It's somebody catching their breath before they're ready to kind of like take that next leap of faith forward, to lean more deeply in. It's almost been a necessary period of withdrawing into themselves in order to create that self-induced tower moment, where whatever they were in denial about before, they've moved beyond that internally. But it's still in the planning stages of like, okay, how do I take this recognition, this admitting, this kind of acceptance that I have within of the nature of these feelings, or even kind of the mysteriousness of this situation, the gravity and intensity of that. How do I take this all and turn that into progress forward, turn that into movement forward? Where do we go from here? They also say, I've been sending you messages in the 5D. So confirmation of that, very deliberately reaching out. Hello, can you hear me? Are you there? Things of that nature, where this even may have been something they've been trying to kind of test the limits or the extent or the nature of your energetic bond with one another, sending you messages and kind of like waiting for these signs or these kind of like cues or these little clues that pop into their world and their reality through other synchronicities that are kind of that confirmation, from you, from the higher self level, that this is in fact not just something that they are imagining, but that there's, as much as it may defy kind of the logical ability to explain and conceptualize, there's something very genuine, very real, and very alive about this energetic bond that the two of you share. This is definitely high intensity energy, a high intensity connection that goes beyond kind of like ordinary and mundane circumstances, that feels very fascinating to them. And yet at the same time, there's still a lot of unanswered questions and a process of needing to acclimate to knowing what they can know and learning to accept what remains a mystery, or what may never be able to be kind of grasped by that logical and practical and sort of like linear 3D mind in this lifetime, or while in fleshly form. Sort of the idea of like the invitation the ride of a lifetime, and they're a bit hesitant to kind of get on board fully with that. But they're looking at that ticket in their hand and they're saying, okay, I know that this situation has my name on it. This is something very unique that I have been blessed with, but I'm not quite sure I'm ready to take that leap of faith forward, because it's a sense of knowing that once they kind of take that conscious awareness and bring it out into material reality, changes everything in this circumstance, and there's no going back from there. They also say, I don't want you to be with anyone else. So this can also tie into the idea of, as they are very conscious of you energetically and sort of like sending you these cues and signs. Don't forget about me. Hey, I'm still here. Remember me. Trying to keep that line of communication open while it may be a bit awkward or, completely silent between the two of you in the material sense. That it's almost like this person's trying to stake their energetic claim, trying to assert themselves in your energy field to perhaps deflect other potential suitors. The pressure is on, time is of the essence. There's a sense of knowing that, this connection won't wait for them to figure it out forever. They can't just keep this on pause endlessly, or it feels to be something they stand to lose this opportunity. And so there's almost a bit of kind of panic mode that may be causing that shadowy sort of Knight of Pentacles, trying to overplan, over-strategize, but then also being very fearful of, what if it's too little too late? What if I move forward before I'm ready? What if I'm wrong about this? What if this is just all a product of my overactive imagination or romantic tendencies, or whatever that is, whatever that looks like for them? And yet at the same time, there's a sense of importance and a pressure to kind of continue to face these shadows within and transcend, continue to flow back toward you or deeper into this connection in whatever way that they can, because this definitely feels to be something that it's too rare and too precious, what they've already admitted to themselves, what they've already discovered, what they've already experienced, to let this slip through their fingers any more than they have, or in general, this is not a situation that they want to be kind of left for the rest of their life with this question of what if. So slowly but surely, kind of like planning their way to dive more deeply into this, to surrender more fully into these feelings and into the possibility of what might grow between the two of you. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got R, R, C, H, E, P, A, U, G, H, L, X, F, A, W, M, J, W, Y, G, and V. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading with more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings other than, or topics related to subjects other than love and romance. So if you're looking for a little bit of variety from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.